Since the inception of the 1992 Republican Constitution of Ghana, Parliament has been one of the main institutions pushing the frontiers of democratic governance in Ghana. Through elected representatives who make up this institution, legislations are enacted for the proper administration of the state and in furtherance of an orderly, free and progressive society. However, one of the key issues that has constantly been raised about our parliamentary system is the lack of necessary engagement and consultations needed to enable the citizenry whom the power emanates from make a direct contribution to the enactment of laws and the drafting of policies. It is in the light of this that the Dialogues for Change project has become a welcomed intervention. Under the auspices of the African Centre for Parliamentary Affairs, ACEPA, and its partners, the project organized a 3-day Parliament citizens engagement in selected constituencies in the eastern and northern regions of Ghana, with the objectives to provide a structured opportunity for citizens, particularly vulnerable groups, to directly engage policymakers.
So Dialogues for Change came about in response to a gap we have identified in our governance process, that is participation of citizens. It is not a case of zero engagement or involvement of citizens, but we want to see more of citizens' voices making its way into decision-making processes and governance discourse. So under Star Ghana's GESI call, specifically targeting interventions that will address the needs of vulnerable and marginalized groups in the society. So we thought we would develop this project to project the voice of these vulnerable groups in the work of Parliament specifically, because that is the area within which we operate.
The Dialogues for Change project is a 2.5-year project being implemented by the African Centre for Parliamentary Affairs in partnership with NORSAAC and SOCIOSERVE Ghana. The project, funded by Star Ghana, has 3 key pillars being enhancing awareness among parliamentary committees on using Parliament citizens' engagement as a methodology to constructively engage citizens on pertinent issues that affect them, strengthening the capacity and capability of women, youth and other vulnerable groups to engage effectively in the political discourse, and creating and broadening the political space between Parliament and citizens, particularly the vulnerable and socially excluded.
We sought to find out the status quo of affairs as far as citizens' participation is concerned within marginalized groups. We also sought out to enhance the capacity of citizens groups with which they can engage duty bearers, they can engage policymakers, they can engage their local assemblies. And then we also focused a bit on the committees by sensitizing them and giving them skills related to outreach and citizens engagement. So on one hand, we built capacity on the side of citizens, marginalized groups, and then we built capacity on the side of Parliament. So the last phase was to bring the 2 sides together, and that is what transpired during the series of engagements we had.
A key issue that the 3-day engagement addressed was government's flagship policy, the Free Senior High School Initiative. William Ajapon Kwetu, chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education, has been explaining the key issues with the policy that came up in the discussions.
Why Free Senior High School? Free Senior High School because we saw that the number of junior high school students who wrote the final exam, we could take only up to about 74% of those who qualified into secondary school. The reasons were twofold. One, access to the senior high schools was less, and then due to lack of finance. Then we saw that there was going to be some kind of conjunction. So we said that why can't we run a shift system where you have everybody going to school? So the double track came into being, and
the government has given itself 7 years. So by the end of the 7th year, na yetime sisi adan bebre nipa dodo e so mo ko school no mo nya betima ko ba ko pe no mo nya tuma adan asan ba ko pe na ko yete say dada na yeko 2019 academic year, some of the schools are going to be dropped out from the double track system. Expansion has taken place in some schools.
As a broad-based, all-inclusive forum targeted at giving expression to minority groups, representatives from physically challenged groups were some of the key stakeholders who participated in the dialogue sessions.
We heard about inclusive education in your submission. We want to know whether our language is also included in basic education, because we learnt in the new curriculum French language is going to be added to it. So we were of the view that if you could add the sign language to the new curriculum, it will go a long way to spread our language. That is to say, many people will learn it, and we can also communicate with many people in the country. That was our expectation. Thank you.
The concern that you have raised, it makes a lot of sense.
We know that the feeding program is for primary schools, but once we have a special interest in girls' education, if you could use your committee to talk through that ministry to get this on board, it would have been very, very helpful for us to champion the cause of girls' education. So I see this as a very good opportunity to bring this issue to your attention for forwarding and then also helping us to address that.
I think we have not done well for ourselves as a nation, and I'm being brutally honest. So whatever needs to be done to encourage and enhance the education of girls, I believe we certainly need to look at addressing those issues. So I think, I see Chairman is nodding. The suggestion is a very laudable one to the Gender Ministry, which is not our committee, but since it has to do with providing support for education of girls, I think we have every reason to be able to engage them and to help with your lobbying effort.
Issa Shamsu is a student of the Tamale College of Education who had written to his Member of Parliament on the sorry state of the Wale Wale Municipal Library. Shamsu says he was delighted that through this program he had met his Member of Parliament.
I woke up with the mind of writing a letter to my Member of Parliament in the person of Honorable Dr. Sari Bambangi, informing him of the sorry state of the Wale Wale Municipal Library Complex, as well as our AstroTurf and the construction that have been damped for months now. I met him here, so instead of him reading the letter online, I just gave it to him orally, and his response was good. And even after the program, he called me and told me his plans. If we really want to decentralize and ensure that governance gets to the people, gets to the grassroots, the engagement of this nature should be encouraged. Engagement like this dialogue has given us the opportunity to interact freely with our members of parliament and to give us room for us to tell them what is also happening in the constituency in their absence.
Madam Georgina Opeku was a participant from the Persons with Disability Group in Somania.
Society be we are disabled. School. Can't me say me mama no force here, my parents, and I'm the go school na me wie. Bebre wo ho a ya say we are disabled and go school. This is a free education ba. So we are disabled, we are disabled, but me go school. Now so that you ba we are above bra. It's here pa.
Madam Comfort Asante is from the Kropong Women's Association.
And a program ne dey. E bue mani bebre, especially if a feeding program no ho. If say now I and every mu kasa and want to yanka na say and ne yan to say one share no wachira won okwan obefa so atua wonka say yanka kakra.
Member of Parliament for Yellow Krobo, Magnus Kofi Amwate, whose constituency hosted one of the dialogue sessions, said the project was a golden opportunity for him as a Member of Parliament to directly interact with his constituents on government's educational policies.
The state of Ghana can't do without civil society organizations because civil society organizations help us to shape policy. They even help us to think through and even help us to resolve challenges that we face as policy makers and even as policy implementers. Today's forum has been very, very fruitful as the Member of Parliament for this place. It's a golden opportunity for me to have the opportunity to have a discussion with my electorate, cross-section of the electorate, on this education reforms that is being churned out by the NPP administration. I think we must commend the SOCIOSERVE and their partners. It's a worthwhile assignment.
Civil society organizations expand the resource envelope that is available for our national development. They create voices for people who perhaps otherwise would not have been able to air their views. And I am telling you that the ability to voice out your ideas concerning a national policy is very, very important. I think it's a very brilliant idea, and the committee was very enthused about it.
Agnes Chitriku spoke about ASEPA's observation of the engagement process and how that would help deepen parliamentary business.
The engagements were very successful, and I say this for a number of reasons. First of all, it was very evident that the communities in which we held these events, some had never even seen their own MPs or interacted with them, and this time round they had a chance to speak to a select committee of parliament, and that was a big deal for them. Beyond that fact, we also witnessed the kind of discussions that took place. We saw a shift from people focusing on their individual gains to actually interrogating the implementation of policy, in this case, some of the educational policies that the current government is implementing. A lot of issues came up that we hope that we can work with the committee to advance further to get the necessary remedial actions where possible.
It is expected that these engagements would continue to unearth input from citizens towards improving the implementation of education policies in the country, as well as give the Select Committee a first-hand knowledge to lay properly informed papers on the floor of Parliament.